Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 20. Vronsky's life was especially happy because he had formed a special code of rules which never failed to regulate what he ought to do and what he ought not to do. This code applied to a very small circle of duties, but they were strictly determined. And as Vronsky never had occasion to go outside of this circle, he had never been obliged to hesitate about his course of action. This code prescribed unfailingly that it was necessary to pay gambling debts, but not his tailor's bills, that it was not possible to tell lies, except to women, that the only persons legitimately open to deceit were husbands, that insults could be committed, but never pardoned. All these precepts might be wrong and illogical, but they were indispensable, and while fulfilling them, Vronsky felt that he was calm and had the right to hold his head high. Since his intimacy with Anna, however, Vronsky began to perceive that his code was not complete on all sides, and as the condition of his life had changed, he no longer found any reply to his doubts and even began to hesitate about the future. Until the present time, his relations with Anna and her husband had been, on his part, simple and clear. They were in harmony with the code which guided him. She was an honorable woman who had given him her love, and he loved her, and therefore she had every imaginable right to his respect, even more than if she had been his legal wife. He would have given his right hand sooner than permit himself a word or an allusion that might wound her, or anything that could seem derogatory to the esteem and respect upon which, as a woman, she ought to count. His relations with society were not less clearly defined. All might know or suspect his relations with her, but no one should dare to speak of it. At the first hint, he was prepared to cause the speaker to hold his peace and to respect the imaginary honor of the woman whom he loved. Still more clear were his relations to the husband. From the first moment that Anna gave him her love, he prescribed to her his own law without fear of contradiction. The husband was merely a useless, disagreeable person. Without doubt, he was in an awkward position, but what could be done about it? The only right that was left him was to seek satisfaction with arms in their hands, and for this, Vronsky was wholly unwilling. These last few days, however, had brought new complications, and Vronsky was not prepared to settle them. Only the evening before, Anna had confessed that she was in trouble, and he knew that she expected him to make some move, but the ruling principles of his life gave him no clue as to what he ought to do. At the first moment when she told him her situation, his heart bade him elope with her. He said this, but now on reflection he saw clearly that it would be better not to do so, but at the same time he was alarmed and perplexed. If I urge her to leave her husband, it would mean unite her life with mine, and am I ready for that? How can I elope with her when I have not any money? Let us admit that, yes, I can get it, but how can I take her away while I'm connected with the service? If I should decide upon this, I should have to get money and throw up my commission. And he fell into thought. The question of resigning or not brought his face to face with another interest of life known only to himself, though it formed the principal spur to his action. Ambition had been the dream of his childhood and youth, a dream which he did not confess to himself, but which was nevertheless so strong that it fought with his love. His first advances in society and in his military career had been brilliant, but 2 years before he had made a serious blunder. Wishing to show his independence and to cause a sensation, he refused a promotion offered him, imagining that his refusal would put a still higher value upon him. But it seemed that he was too confident, and since then he'd been neglected. He found himself reduced to nolens volens, to the position of an independent man who asked for nothing and could not take it amiss if he were left in peace to amuse himself as he pleased. In reality, as the year went on, and since his return from Moscow, his independence weighed upon him. He felt that many people were beginning to think that he was incapable of doing anything, instead of a good, honorable fellow capable of doing anything, but not caring to. his relations with Madame Karenina, by attracting attention to him, for a time calmed the gnawings of the worm of ambition. But lately this worm had begun to gnaw with renewed energy. Supukovskoy, a friend of his childhood, belonging to his own circle, a chum of his in the school of pages, who had graduated with him, who had been his rival in the schoolroom and in gymnasium, in his pranks and in his ambition, had just returned from Central Asia, where he had advanced 2 steps on the ladder of promotion, and won honors rarely given to such a young general. He was now in Petersburg, and people spoke of him as a new rising star of the first magnitude. Just Vronsky's age, and his intimate friend, he was a general, and was expecting an appointment which would give him great influence in the affairs of the country. While Vronsky, though he was independent and brilliant, and loved by a lovely woman, was only a cavalry captain, whom they allowed to remain as he was and do as he pleased. Of course, he said to himself, I'm not envious of Serpukovskoy, but his promotion proves that a man like me only needs to bide his time in order to make a rapid rise in his profession. It's scarcely 3 years ago that he was in the same position as I am now. If I left the service, I should burn my ships. If I stay in the service, I lose nothing. Did she not herself tell me that she did not want to change her position? And can I, sure of her love, be envious of Serpukovskoy? And so, slowly twisting his mustache, he arose from the table and began walking up and down the room. His eyes shone with extraordinary brilliancy, and he was conscious of that calm, even, and joyous state of mind that he always felt after regulating his accounts. All was now clear and orderly as ever. He shaved, took a cold bath, dressed, and prepared to go out.